A man discovered an ugly creature while strolling far into the rainforest and brought it home. He wouldn't believe what the ugly animal had changed into months later, and neither would you. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. Many tourists from all around the globe like to visit the Amazon jungle each year. It's a location of magic, unlike anything else on the planet. Many people think that there are still medicines and herbs in there that may treat ailments, and other people even think that being in a jungle has therapeutic benefits. Simultaneously, there exist several methods for reaching your destination in the Amazon. It's really not appropriate for anybody who are unfamiliar with the region to go exploring alone. The rainforest is full of hazards. Some plants may be poisonous, some insects can spread illness, and there are the untamed predators like as anacondas, caimans, and jaguars. It is generally discouraged for visitors to travel alone in the area due to the high level of risk. But there are plenty of knowledgeable tour guides who can assist you in having a safe and enjoyable tour of the forest. However, the man in today's story didn't require guidance from anybody. When Jorge was a child, his family would frequently take walks and explore the rainforest in Brazil. He learned about the various plants from his father and how to tell which ones are harmful and which ones aren't. He also taught him how to keep his eyes alert for harmful animals or deadly insects. Jorge continued to take lengthy walks in the forest even after he became an adult, and he enjoyed the sense of freedom these treks gave him. He cherished the tranquility of the forest, where one could take in the sounds of nature and smell earthy tones. He took a break one day during a strenuous climb. He noticed a little creature resting on the soft ground beneath the bushes. He needed to make sure the ugly, tiny item wasn't deadly because he didn't know what it was. He cleared the leaves out of the way with a stick. The monster had an enormous head, and Jorge surmised that the dots on it were likely not even the beginnings of her eyes. Jorge could tell that she was defenseless, even though she was perhaps the ugliest thing he had ever seen. There would be no way for her to survive if he abandoned her there on the forest floor. He brought the small animal home after carefully putting her in his jacket pocket. All he could hope was that he wouldn't look back and regret it. He made an effort to look up the possible animal species of the small critter when he got home. He knew it was a girl from his internet research, but he wasn't sure precisely what sort. Jorge, however, realized it was a chick, so he got some baby bird food and started feeding her in the hopes that she would ultimately grow out of her hideous appearance. When Jorge's friends saw the small animal, they all advised him to take it to the veterinarian and leave it there. They didn't think the unattractive little bird was worth the time and effort it needed to care for it. However, Jorge declined. He wasn't sure what it was about the small creature. It wasn't her appearance for sure, but perhaps it was her total reliance on him. He had to stay with her. She was now his, whatever that meant, and he gave her the name Fern. All he wanted was to know what she was so he could provide for her even more. Her feathers didn't exactly grow in as they should have as she developed. The veterinarian lived far away and only made sporadic trips to Jorge's hometown. Having heard about how stress may cause birds to become agitated and even sick, he didn't want to put the little fledgling through so much travel. She was improving, therefore he must be doing something right since he gave her the greatest care he could. She still hadn't grown any feathers after a few months, and some of the villagers started to warn Jorge that the bird would bring misfortune. They even thought she may cause problems. Before some odd occurrences began happening in his own home, Jorge didn't trust a word they said since the supposition was so crazy. Even with the TV off, he could still hear his favorite show's theme song. Or how, for days after her visit, he could still hear his mother in his head. His buddies all thought it was due of Tiny Fern because it was so odd. Once more, they instructed him to remove the bird, but Jorge refused. At least he made an effort not to think that Fern was the source of the odd events. Though he couldn't be certain, he felt a connection with her and she felt the same way about him. Fern was terrified of people, running away from them if they tried to stroke her small, bald head. However, she enjoyed being petted and rubbed by Jorge. She would leap around and play as he turned on the tap just a bit. She couldn't fly or even flutter since her feathers hadn't grown in yet, but she was incredibly feisty as she hopped around on her two little legs. Jorge had a dog, But Fern would make a lot of noise, flap her featherless wings, and chase the dog away. Everyone had to adjust to her newfound authority over the household. Jorge carried her around the entire home. He was glad to share when she started pleading with him for his food, provided it was suitable for a bird to consume. If only she weren't growing any older, he would have thought he had made a pretty wonderful friend that day in the Amazon forest. Although it didn't bother Jorge too much, the unusual occurrences had all started to happen about the time Fern moved in with him. It was now the veterinarian's turn to come to his hometown. He was hoping she could provide him with some information on the odd little critter residing in his home. The veterinarian expressed happiness to see the bird and said that without Jorge's assistance, young Fern might not have lived. Although it's usually preferable to keep wild animals in their original environment or to contact a group that deals with them, Jorge did the best he could in this particular situation. Fern had some serious inadequacies, and if she had been left in the wild, she would not have survived, the veterinarian added, explaining why it made sense that she had been laying on the forest floor. Fern's parents must have realized that and rejected her, but fortunately for her, she now had a veterinarian on her side. The veterinarian assured her that she would soon be developing feathers and gave her a ton of vitamins. However, Fern only grinned when asked what species she was. She assured him that he would be informed as soon as her feathers began to sprout. The veterinarian only chuckled when he spoke about all the unusual events. She also had an explanation for this. Fern was a kind of parrot that was exceptionally skilled in voice and sound imitation. All this time, he had been hearing the bird. Jorge felt so much more at peace when he left the vet. He was certain that his companion would be well since, as the veterinarian had said, her feathers quickly began to grow in. He was taken aback to discover that Fern was a macaw, which is among the most costly and massive bird species globally, not to mention one of the most exquisite. Jorge's attachment to the unattractive small creature that developed into a magnificent bird was a fortunate development. Fortunately, he would have Fern to keep him company for over 75 years. I appreciate you seeing. Come back soon for many more amazing tales. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.